Hello everyone, my name is Kacoroski and I work as a Parks Interpretive Specialist with Washington State Parks and Recreation Commission. Now, as a Parks Interpretive Specialist, my job is to teach people about the amazing cultural and natural resources of the state. A few years ago, I was fortunate to be able to work at Lake Sammamish State Park in Issaquah. And I say that I was fortunate for a variety of different reasons. Having grown up in the greater Seattle area, state parks such as Lake Sammamish State Park are very near and dear to my own heart. As a child, my family was all about getting outside, recreating, and playing in nature. Lake Sammamish State Park is full of fond memories for me. Lake Sammamish State Park is a park that's special not only to the people who choose to recreate there, but also to the wildlife which call this park home. And so today, I'm incredibly excited to talk with all of you a little bit more about the park. I hope today that we can all discover and explore Lake Sammamish State Park, not just as a beautiful urban park, but also as an important home to wildlife. Now, to get us started, when I say the word home, what do you all think of? What does home mean to you? What do you need in your home in order to survive, to be content, or to be happy? I'm going to give you all just a few moments to think about this. Did you all get a chance to think about what you need in your homes in order to survive? Well, I did as well. And in my home, I need my family, but I also need items that are like food, or even water, or perhaps some form of shelter, helping to protect me from the elements, the wind, the rain, or maybe even the sun that's beating down on a hot summer's day. And you know, after some thought, I also decided that I need space. I need space in order to grow, space in order to move around. Now, did you list off some of these things as well? I bet you probably did, because all living things within their homes, or what we like to refer to for wildlife, their habitats, need food, water, shelter, and space. Lake Sammamish State Park is an urban state park that's a little over 530 acres, which is fairly large for an urban green space and pretty amazing. Within the state park, we can find a wide variety of wildlife that live in these different habitats around the park. Some of these habitats can be found in forested areas, open fields, along the freshwater shoreline, within the wetlands, the creeks, or the streams. So how about we go discover some of the different wildlife that call Lake Sammamish State Park home? Have you ever seen a large skinny bird balanced on one foot at the edge of the lake? If so, you've probably found a great blue heron. With a long S-shaped neck and dagger-like bill, herons are able to hunt for their favorite food, fish and frogs. Be careful of getting too close, as when startled, these birds are quick to fly away. Though if you happen to see one in flight, I'd encourage you to stop to admire their amazingly large wings that can span over 6 feet from tip to tip, allowing them to soar. While walking along the edge of a river or creek within the park, have you noticed a pile of logs, almost like a dam? This pile was most likely purposely and carefully constructed by a beaver. Though not often seen, as they are crepuscular animals, meaning they are typically active at dawn or dusk, beavers build dams to flood shorelines and waterways, creating areas where they can easily hide from predators. As an animal with large webbed back feet, you can imagine that walking on land might be a bit of a challenge. Have you explored the trails within the park? Perhaps you've taken a corner to hear a quick rustle. The animal disappearing in the woods was most likely a deer. Commonly seen around the park, deer are naturally a skittish animal, preferring to bed within the thickets in the woods and keep their young close. Always remember when you see wildlife to maintain a safe distance and never feed them. Help keep our wildlife wild. Or maybe you have enjoyed sunset within the park and seen small creatures flying in odd patterns around you. These creatures are bats, and though not everyone's favorite animal, they are incredibly important to us. Did you know that a little brown bat can eat over 1,000 mosquitoes in 1 hour? There are many animals which call Lake Sammamish State Park home, beyond the ones that I just mentioned. Lake Sammamish State Park, again, is over 530 acres, and there's habitats all throughout the park for wildlife to survive, having the food, water, shelter, and space that they need. Now, these animals I've listed off, or these animals that we know live within the park, also probably live within your own backyards. That's one of the amazing things about urban state parks. I'd like to encourage you all to take some time, either today, tomorrow, later this week, or even later this month, to walk around your own backyard, your own community, and see what sorts of habitats you can find, or what sorts of animals live within your backyard. I'd encourage you to start a nature journal to document what you're seeing, or perhaps if you're feeling crafty, maybe you'd want to create your very own habitat crown. Hello everyone, I'm very excited that you're here to make habitat crowns today. Now, in order to make your habitat crowns, you're going to need a couple of craft items. What I have here on the table are my habitat crown base, which I've connected by using some strips of construction paper. I've chosen to connect them with a stapler, which seems to work out a little bit better than glue, just so you know. So I have my crown base. I also have 4 cards that you can go ahead and cut out and then write on, or you can print off from your computer. My cards say shelter, food, space, and water. Those 4 different things that we need, or all living things need in their habitat to survive. I also have some glue, as well as some items that will help me to draw on my habitat cards to then put onto my habitat crown. You can use markers, crayons, whatever you happen to have at home. So to get us started, you first need to think a little bit about what is an animal that's within your own backyard or your own community. Well, an animal that I sometimes see really early in the morning as I'm going into work or very late at night as I'm coming home is a coyote. Now, a lot of folks don't love coyotes, but I do, because this here is their natural habitat. Now that I've identified an animal that lives within my own community, the coyote, I need to think a little bit about what does this animal need to survive? What is a coyote's food, water, shelter, and space? And then I'll go ahead and either write or draw those on my cards. So if I think about it, well, for water, there's a lake that's really close to my house, and I bet the coyote that I see oftentimes gets water from this lake. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a lake on my card here, and you can be as detailed as you want. And again, if you don't like to draw, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and write it down and maybe describe what that lake looks like. But I'm going to go ahead and draw the lake, maybe add a couple of trees around this lake, because it's a pretty forested area. And for purposes of today, I don't think I'll do too many details, but to help you kind of get the point. Now let's look at another one of our cards. Food. What do coyotes like to eat for food? Well, coyotes are what we call opportunistic eaters, and they'll eat pretty much anything they can find. They're actually omnivores, eating both plants and animals. And I've heard of coyotes eating a berry that we have here in my backyard called a salmon berry. And I bet some of you probably have salmon berries in your own backyards as well. So I'm going to draw this bush. And on this bush, I'm going to draw a bunch of little salmon berries. And maybe I'll actually include a couple other different food sources, because I know coyotes will eat pretty much anything. So maybe I'll draw even a small mouse, because again, coyotes are carnivores. It's really up to you, to whatever you want to put on your cards. Now my next card, shelter. What does a coyote use for shelter? Well, coyotes live in dens, and these dens can be in the sides of hillsides, or they can be in other locations. And I think probably in my area, it's going to be the side of a hillside, or maybe the bank of a stream. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a hole in the ground that is my coyote's den. Awesome. Okay. And finally, my last card is space. and space is usually the hardest card to draw or to describe. But when I think of space, I think of the area that includes the food, water, and shelter. And I think of the habitat that I see around me. So our coyote within this location where I live lives in a forested area. So I'm going to show on my space card a nice forested area with lots of space for my coyote to live and be happy within its own habitat. Go ahead and draw on a few trees here. Okay, once you've gone ahead and you've completed drawing in and filling out your food, water, shelter, and space card, the next step is to attach these cards onto your habitat crown. You can do so with glue or a stapler, whichever works out easiest, or I guess even tape too. Once you go ahead and you get them attached onto the base of your crown, get someone to help you out and make sure your crown measures around your head, and you can happily and proudly show a creature that lives within your own backyard or community and the habitat that it has. Well, thank you all so much for joining me for this craft. I hope you enjoy doing it at home. Well, I'd like to thank you all for joining me today for this short program about Lake Sammamish State Park. I hope you're all able to learn something a little bit more about this amazing urban green space and discover how it's not that much different than our own homes. I hope you enjoyed learning about some of the wildlife that live within Lake Sammamish State Park, and I hope that you feel inspired to look for wildlife and habitats within your own backyards and communities. I'd like to invite you all to come on out to Lake Sammamish State Park or one of our other state parks sometime, and I hope that you find that these state parks feel like home to you as well. State parks are protected not only for the natural and cultural resources, but also for the enjoyment for all of us. So again, thank you so much for joining us from Washington State Parks.